All right, hello to anybody that's out there. This will be my first live stream for the Python course at Leeward, ICS110P. Looks like chat's pretty much live, but we have about a 20-second video latency. All right. If there's anything in particular that anybody wants to see, we can go ahead and take a look at that. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through and demonstrate some different skills and stuff with formatting the text. So feel free to type in the chat if there's something in particular anybody wants to see. We have 5 watching now. So this is actually my first time streaming. Usually I do recordings and just post them online, like tutorials and stuff. So if there's anything, advice that anybody wants to give as well, it's welcome. Here for the app, I have PyCharm, which is kind of an industry standard for building complete applications. And then I also have Google Colab in the background here, which is also another option for building like AI, machine learning, predictive analytics, or just doing basic training with variables and stuff. So if you're using PyCharm, we'll come up here, we'll make a new file. And typically you want to name your primary file as main with the extension .py. So this week was a lot of looking at the print statement and different things you can do with it. So we could do print hello everyone, and then if I hit play, what it's going to do is in the bottom here, it's going to print out hello everyone. Okay, you can also do formatting with that text as well. So let's say we are getting into variables in module 1 and 2. So let's say we have a variable, so we'll call this a string. So we'll call this my, with a lowercase m, we're doing camel case. So the first word is always lowercase, and then the second word, third word, fourth words would then be capitalized. So we'll call this my string with a capital S equals, with quotes, this is my string. And the option you have here is you can either do single quotes or double quotes. But they have to match. Whatever you have at the beginning has to match what you have in the end. So this would be what it would look like with single quotes. Now the issue is if you're going to have a conjunction with an apostrophe in there. So if you're going to say this isn't my string, the issue comes up is that it sees that apostrophe there and it thinks that is the end of your string. And then it's going to mess up at the end. So what you can do is you can actually use that escape character that we learned about, the slash, and make it a /t. And that'll actually force it to be an apostrophe. Now that we have this is my string, this isn't my string stored inside a variable called my string, we can actually print that out. Print my string. When we print it out, you actually see the first time we wrote it, it put this is my string. It took this and it placed it inside the variable my string. So a single equal sign is actually called an assignment operator. If you have a double equal sign, that is actually called a comparison. So you have my string, this is my string. But then what we did is we overwrote it with the second one here. So when it did the print, it said this isn't my string. Now let's say we want to do some formatting. We could do my string, how about we do first string, second string. And what we could do, print second string. We'll change this one to first string. Now if we print, it'll print out both of them on 2 separate lines. Whenever you have a brand new print statement, it prints out on a new line unless you use the end equals feature. Now it's going to put it out on a single line. All right. But if you don't have the end on how you want to end the previous string, it's going to automatically do a return or /n as you saw inside your statements. So if I, in the string here, if I were to put a /n, you can see it has the escape character and then n. N stands for new line. Okay, so it's broken up two strings, but let's say we want to center them. Well, if we're working with strings directly, we can do a dot center. And let's say we want to make this centered within 20 character spaces. We could do something like that. And what it's going to do is it's going to center it in the window there. It's going to use 20 spaces. It's going to try and center it in the center there. So if you can see, it is slightly centered compared to the one that's below it. We could even go with 25 characters to make it more pronounced. So you can see here, it's centered. It's actually 20 characters long. The whole blue area will highlight. You can see it's equal on both sides. Now, if you have an even number of letters and you have an odd number of spaces here, then it's going to have to pick move left or move right by one space. It won't be exactly centered, but it'll be close. It'll be within one character space. And we can even do the same thing with this one here. Dot center 25 characters, and we'll go ahead and run that one. And that is direct string formatting. So now it pads both sides with an equal number of characters. So it looks like this one here is odd. So it has the 3 on the left, and it has the 4 spaces, or 4 spaces on the left, and it has the 3 spaces on the right. So this is an easy way to center text if you wanted to. There's another way to do it. Let's say we wanted to left align the text. Actually, let's look at formatted text. So let's say I can put an F. F stands for formatting, and then I can go ahead and put my quotes. Now you can see the whole thing went green, including the F, even though it's outside the quotes. Because what Python understands it as is I'm going to format this string to be something other than just a string. So I can say hello, and then I can include curly braces, and then I can actually throw a variable in there. So first string and second string are both variables. So how about if I throw first string in there? If anybody's out there, if you guys want to let me know how does the mic sound, if I'm loud, too soft, just let me know, and I can try and adjust, especially for next time, make it better next time. Feel free to say in chat if it's high or low. There's about a 15-second latency on voice, so I won't see it right away, but I'll definitely do my best to adjust. Now the text itself is almost near instant. Okay, so here we're going to have a string, but I'm going to throw a variable inside the middle of the string using a format string. So what we are expecting to see is, hello, this is my string. So let's go ahead and hit play, and we'll see what it says. All right, thanks, Carmine. Is it Charmaine? Thanks, Charmaine. So we see, hello, this is my string. Okay, we could also do something like, let's say my age equals 20. So what we're doing is we're taking it an integer because there's no decimal. If I just add a 0.5, then it automatically becomes a float. But as long as there's no decimal values, it's going to store the integer inside my age. And then down here inside for our formatted string, we say I am, and then we're going to do the curly braces again, and we're going to say my age. And then we can actually put the period. So what this does, this allows you to put your variables in line with the rest of the text. It makes it really easy to read it. We'll look at we'll look at another way to do it. So if we do print I am, we'll do %s, comma, my age. So %s is a code for insert a string here. And what it's going to do is it's going to find the first string that comes after it. And it's going to input it, and it's going to take that, and it's going to replace the %s with that. So this is how you add those variables into it. If we hit print, both of the sentences should look the same. Oh, what am I missing? Well, we'll see on that one. Let's see. Okay, we could do something like pull this from one of my support documents over there. Pull back up Python. Okay. So what we could do is we could actually do a curly brace, and then what it's going to do is it's going to find dot format. I should have remembered this one. My age, and then we got to close out the print statement. So what we have is we have our first curly braces. What am I missing? There we go. So it has the open curly brace and the closed curly brace. And then for the dot format, it has the curly brace and the curly brace. So we have 2 opens and 2 closes. If we hit print, we should get the exact same thing. Oh, let's add a period. Okay, we should get the same thing. Now, one thing that you can do that is cool is you can actually do formatting with the text. So, so what we could do is we can do, let's do, I believe it is the left arrow, colon, and what that should do is left align my age. Let's double check here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so after the variable, what you want to do is you want to do a colon, and then you can actually do a left arrow, and it's actually going to left align it. Let's say we want this thing to be, let's say, 25 characters again. So I am my age, years old. And so what we should expect to see is I am the variable, my age. This little arrow is pointing to the left, so we're left aligning it in a 25 space block, and then we're going to say years old. So we should have a big gap between the age and years old. So if we print, we have that. We have 25 characters from the start of 20 all the way to here is 25 characters. If we wanted to right align it, we would use the right arrow. And if you look, I am, now it starts here, and it has 25 characters, and it says years old. So these are another way to align your text. If you want to center it, then what you can do is you can use the up arrow, which is Shift 6. So if we do this, going to center the age 25 or 20 in the center of these 25 blank spaces. So I am 20 years old. So you have the dot center for as one way to center, and then you have the caret symbols inside a formatted string to center as well. All right, if anybody has any questions, feel free to type into the text area and show how it goes, and we'll take a look at whatever you have. Okay, so let's go ahead and comment this out. Let's see, what is that? Control. Let's see, what's the shortcut? I think it's Control K. Control slash, that's what it was. Okay, so if you highlight a group of text, you can do a Control slash, and it's going to go ahead and just highlight or slash it all or comment it out for you. You can hold Control slash again and it uncomments. Okay, let's go ahead and comment that stuff out. Let's take a look at something else. Okay, so one of the things that we had to work on is we had to do something that looks something like this, where it was a bunch of equal signs, and then we had to do a print. We did a pipe, which is the key just above the enter with the slash on it. It also has a vertical key in there. So if you hold shift and press the key just above your enter, that'll give you that vertical pipe. It's called a pipe character. Okay, space. And we could say, we're going to look at a couple different ways to say this. This is a string. Okay, space. We're going to do another pipe. Okay, that finishes that one out. We'll make it more dynamic in a second here. First, we're doing it static. And then I'll do it print. And we'll do a bunch more equal signs again. Something like that. And then if we print it, we'll get in there. This is a string. It looks okay, but we could make it better. Right? We want to work smarter, not harder. So if we look here, we have a bunch of these equal signs here. Well, in a program, you can do multiplication, adding, subtracting, right? For those that don't remember, The multiplication is the asterisk. Divide is the divide, so the shares with the question mark, so shift question mark. You have adding, and you have subtracting, right? Well, we can do that to strings as well. All right, so let's say we want to have 15 of this character. We say 15 times equal sign. There, and what it'll do is it'll give us 15 of these equal signs in a row. And because it's in one print block, it'll all be in one row. The next print block will make itself separate. So let's take a look. And you can see, there it goes. It made 15. If that wasn't enough, then let's go with maybe 20. See how that looks. There you go. This is a string, and we didn't have to make every single one of those equal signs. So if we wanted to change the symbol to an asterisk, we just need to change one symbol, and it prints out a bunch of asterisks. If we do it this way down here, we'd have to highlight all of these, hold shift, draw a bunch of asterisks. If we only wanted 20 of them, we'd have to count how many times we pushed it. All right, that's a lot of work. See, look, we've actually made too many. So it is better to work smarter than harder. So just say, in these parentheses, I want to make an asterisk, or I want to make a, let's see, I want to make a, I don't know, a pound sign. Okay, but I want to have 20 of them, so 20 times the pound sign. And in Python, it's very common to have a space to space out your math when you're doing your arithmetic stuff. So 20 space times space, and then whatever you're drawing out right here. So let's draw that, and that should give us 20 pound signs underneath the word "this is a string." And all you have to do is just change one character, and it's going to change all of them for you. Let's go with an asterisk. Okay, now in the center, let's make this dynamic. So you can actually take two strings. Let's look here. Okay, so we have first string, second string. Let's go ahead and take these out. You can always watch recording. So this is being recorded, and I will go ahead and post the recording on my YouTube as an unlisted publication, but I'll give the link to everybody so you can find it. That way you can look up anything that we've gone over. Just trying to make some more space here. Okay. If the text is too small also, please let me know, and I'll try and, actually, let's go ahead. Yeah, I'll try and zoom in next time and make it a little bit bigger. All right. So you can actually combine two strings together. Print, let's say first string plus second string. And what we should see is this is called a string concatenation, and it'll combine the first two strings together into one string. This is a string, this is a string. And because this one ends with no blank space and this one starts with no blank space, and we're not adding any free blank spaces, that's why they're starting right up against each other. So what we could do is we could say plus, make a blank space. So first string is a string. The second, with the quotes, that is another string that we just made. And then we have to concatenate the last part. So we have three strings that we are concatenating together. So if we hit play, we should now have a run. We should now have a blank space between these two sentences. And we do. We have that blank space right there. Same thing goes down here if we want to do this print here. So this is a string. Well, that matches our first string variable. So if I want to combine, if I want to delete that, and I want to say, okay, draw a pipe, space, and make that a string. I can now concatenate, say first, make that space there, first string plus another string, blank, pipe, and there we go. And now what it should do is it should draw our pipe and a space, concatenate first string into the spot using the variable there, and then concatenate another space and a pipe onto it. Boom. And we have our finished part. So we have lots of stars, we have the pipe, this is my string, another pipe, and then lots of stars. So we're starting to get some formatted text. Okay, let's say we had a log that we're trying to build. Print. We could say, okay, pipe, space, name, let's add a couple spaces, pipe, space, class, couple spaces, pipe, space, grade. Okay, we'll go a couple spaces and a pipe. So if we look at that, we're starting to make almost like a table. And we can hit play. And you can see how it formats it out here. Well, that's a lot of spaces. And we probably don't need all those spaces. But what we can do is we can say, okay, well, let's say I want 10 space. I want each one of these widths to be 15 characters. Right? So what I could do is I could do, see how this goes. Say column 1 equals name. Now this makes it easy to store all the column information together and easy to change it at one location. Class. So lowercase c on column, and then we'll go capital letter on each word after that, and we'll say grade. Now we don't need to put it in here, but what we can do is we can do the curly braces, put an F here because we want to make this formatted text, and you see, look, it just changed. Take out all these extra spaces, and we'll say column 1. We'll do the same thing here. And we'll see what it looks like without formatting it first. So we'll do the curly braces. When you hit, in PyCharm, when you hit the left curly brace, it automatically creates the right curly brace, and it has the cursor in the center there. So I'm not doing anything special. I'm just hitting the left curly brace, and it makes both of them for me. The column 2. And left curly brace makes both of them. Column 3. Okay, we'll go ahead and print it out, and we'll see what this looks like. Let's go ahead and comment this one out here. We don't need to show the string concatenation anymore. All right, so look, that is pretty tight. We don't want it to be that tight, but we just talked about doing formatting of widths, and we can do alignments in it. So let's say column 1, we'll do a semicolon. Let's say we want this one left aligned, and we want it to be 15 characters wide. Okay, column 2, class, let's say we want this one to be centered, so we'll go colon, center, so that's shift 6 to get the upwards caret, and we will do, let's make this one also 15, and then finally we'll come over here to column 3. We'll make this one right aligned just for fun. Okay, so we'll set colon right caret, which is the shift period, and we'll say 15 as well. Now if we hit print, look, we got name is left aligned, we got classes in the center, and we got grade that is right aligned. So it's automatically formatted for us. Let's say we don't like name being 15. We could change it to 10. We just got to change one number. We don't have to draw anything or make any crazy stuff. Let's put a space before there. And let's go ahead and left align column 3. All right, when we hit play, okay, there we go, run. Okay, we got space, name, left aligned, class is centered, and grade is left aligned. You know, I think I like grade centered. Grade is only going to be 1 character letter, so it probably only needs to be like maybe 5. Yeah, let's go 7. And we'll go ahead and hit go. There we go. Now we got a column headers that are all aligned for us. And if we look at all of these, we can see that we got 10 plus 15, that's 25. Plus 7, that is what, 32, math and public. Plus we got 1 extra space right there, 32, 33, 34. So let's see what this does. If we say here, 34, plus I got the extra space there, so let's try 32. We'll do centered, 32. And let's see what happens. Oh, we didn't do formatted text, so we got to do the F, which then allows us to do the curly braces, right? Come over here, delete these extra, because we don't need to concatenate them, because what we're doing is we're putting the variable in line inside the string. Now if we play it, oh yeah, we're just a little bit off. We need like 1 more space. There we go. Formatted. And what you can do is you can actually start formatting columns or pages for your variables based upon this type of stuff. All right, let's see. How many do we have in chat? So we got 4 watching now. If anybody else has any questions or anything in particular they want to talk about, pop in. So we've talked about how to format your text. You can do multiplication of special characters. You could do various things like strings. One thing we can go ahead and look at is inputs. So we've been putting a lot of static information here, but let's say you want the person to respond back with some information. Okay, so let's go all the way up, delete this, and we'll say user name. And what we'll do, we'll say, what is your name? What is your name? So if we hit play, all it's saying, oh, we didn't even say print. Username is blank. We don't know what the username is. All right, so let's leave it empty. And what we'll do is we'll print user. We'll make it a formatted string. Curly braces, username. And when it prints out, it should be blank nothing. See, it did print it out, but there's nothing for us to print out. If we were to put like a 1 here, see, it would print just the 1. Well, we want to ask them for their name. So we can say, what is your name? And when we print it, it's just going to ask them what is their name. There's nothing for them to type. So if I come down here, there's nothing for me to type. I'm trying to type on my keyboard and nothing's showing up in the auto area down below. So what we can do is we can say username equals, and all we have to do is just put the word input. That's it. To format what is your name, we could maybe add a space after that. And so when we hit, and then if we print username, we should be able to find out what the name is. So let's go ahead and get the input of what they're going to type. So we hit play, and down here it's waiting. See, if I click down here, we got a cursor down here at the bottom, and I can say John. All right. If I press enter, it's going to print out John. We could even now add a formatted string, so we'll go F quote, and what we'll do is curly brace. So if you highlight the word and you press the curly brace, it automatically and wrap it around. Welcome, John. So what it's going to do now is going to say, welcome. What is your name? We'll do Charmaine. Welcome, Charmaine. And so that's how you get inputs from the user, and you can also provide input back out to them. So I'm a big believer that if you can learn to game program, you can do any kind of programming. So what is your hero's name? All right. In this case, we're going to get the hero name. Welcome, hero name. Print. What would you like to do? And we're going to turn this into an input also. And see how earlier what we did is we defined username up here equals blank blank. This is actually doing the same thing. It's basically recreating username, and then it's just inputting input in there. So we can actually remove this first username because we're actually getting it right here in the beginning. Username equals the input. So what we can do here is, what would you like to do? And we can change that into input. So user input equals input. And then what we can do is print as a formatted, I would love to do that too. I would love to do, we'll make it formatted text. Okay, and now if we hit play, we'll see what is your hero's name. Roland. Press enter. Welcome, Roland. What would you like to do? Now in this case, up here in the first one, I have a blank space after the word name question mark. I have a blank space, so you can see it let me type with a blank space there. In this case, what would you like to do has no blank space in it, so when I'm trying typing, it's right up against the question mark. So a good practice is to go ahead and add that blank space. Let's see, let's play music. And in this case, I have a space in the word here, so it's going to take the entire string that I'm typing here, and it's going to save it inside user input. So press enter. I would like to do play music too. Not the best grammar in the world, but that'll work for now. All right, nobody's piped up saying they want to look at something in particular, so let's keep looking. Let's look at some errors that might pop up. So let's say you have a user input, but you didn't put the format here. So if you hit play, it's just going to print off, let's go with, let's take it out here. Stop. We'll hit play. Okay, so what is your hero's name? James. Welcome, username. So therefore it kept it as a string and we lost the value there. So we know that if it's showing that there, that means it's not a formatted string. So we just need to come back up here, add the F, and it goes back to being a formatted string. So it'll do the same thing here. Okay, let's say we do something incorrect. So let's say for the word input, let's say I use a capital I. Okay, now one nice thing about PyCharm is it's going to put red squigglies underneath, and it's going to tell me something's wrong with it. And I can actually come down here to the bottom, I can go to problems, and it says there's an unresolved reference, input. So it doesn't like that word input. In this case, I know that input's supposed to be all lowercase. Okay, but let's say you try and run it, you see the red there, and you're like, gosh darn it, this is correct. I don't care what the system's telling me. Okay, let's go ahead and hit play. When you hit play, it's going to give a traceback error. Traceback means that it tried to run the code and it returned with this piece of information. So it's looking at my file, it's looking at the line, so it says in line 1, there's an issue. And it's even nice enough, it puts the little arrows here pointing at the word input. And it says input is not correct. And then down below it says name error, name input is not defined, which means it doesn't know what it is. Did you mean input with all lowercase? So it's trying to tell me like 3 different ways. It's trying to tell me I did something wrong, and it's trying to tell me what the correct information is supposed to be. So change it to I, and then everything's going to be good. There we go, no error. I can hit James sing. I like to do sing too. All right. All right, so we have an input, and we have here user input, user name. Let's see, what can we do next? If anybody doesn't have anything online, then we'll probably go ahead and wrap this one up early. I was just kind of looking at some of the common issues I saw this week, and a lot of that was on the formatting, text alignment, doing the multiplication, so you can multiply a string a certain number of times. All right, so we'll go back up here, print, 25 times asterisk. Okay, it's going to print 25 asterisks. You can also actually print a variable multiple times. So let's say we have a variable called my string equals, this is a string. And for some reason, we want to go ahead and print it multiple times. What we can do is we can say 5 times my string. When we hit play, it should print it out 5 times. There you go. This is a string, this is a string, this is a string. What we can do is we can actually go on the end. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad it providing some additional information. So this is a string, and we can do slash. And sorry for the delay on the chat. It's about a 20-second delay on chat and video, but text is pretty instant. Okay, this is a string, and we're gonna go the escape character N for new line. And when I hit print, it should get 5 different lines of this is a new string, this is a new string, this is a new string. Let's see. I don't think we've touched loops yet. We've gone through arithmetic, module 2. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at some arithmetic unless somebody else wants to look at strings a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and start with arithmetic. If I don't see anything else, I'm just going to keep on going. Let's see. Print. Let's say we want to do 5 plus 5. And that should print out 10, right? We could do print. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one. Print. Print, print, and I'm just going to throw the different items in there. So 5 minus 5, 5 times 5, 5 divided by 5. These are the basic 4 operators, arithmetic operators. All right, we got our 10, we got our 0, 5 times 5 is 25, and we have 1.0. Now, whenever you divide inside Python, it's always going to return a float value. Even if it's a whole number, when it divides, it's still going to return it as a float value. Now, there's a cool thing called casting. You can force it to be a certain type. So let's say we want 5 divided by 5 to be an integer. Then what we can do is we can do int, and then we can wrap this in parentheses. So it's going to take 5 divided by 5. I'm going to force it to be an integer. So we should just see 1 as the value there. And it got rid of that decimal value. So you can actually force something to be something else. So here we got 5 times 5 is 25. If we want to force it to be a float, we can do the same thing. Let's say we don't want to lose precision on something. Okay, then we go ahead and do that. 5 times 5. And now what it does is it returns 25.0. It forces it to be a float. This could be good. Let's say you're getting an input. So print, or we're getting input. So my value equals input. Give or type an integer, okay, because you want to do some basic math. I put semicolon and a space, and then what I can do, my value equals, oh no, print my value. So okay, so type an integer. I come down here, let's say I type 5. It should print out 5, and it does. Let's run it again. Let's say I type 5.5. Well, that's not an integer, but we can force it to be an integer, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the input, so whatever's inside these parentheses, int parenthesis. We'll come here to the end, give another parenthesis. This should do, I might need to go on the outside of the input. I can't, yep. Int needs to go on the outside, or do I have too many parentheses here? There we go. All right, try and run that. We will take this int, put it outside the input. So basically we're going to take whatever's the input. So type an integer, it's going to change it to an input, and then we're going to, whatever it gives us, it's going to force it to be an integer. All right, so type an integer, 5.5, and I messed up. Let's see. Invalid literal for int with a base of 10. All right, let me check real quick. What did I do wrong? Force int. Check with my little notes page over here. Scroll to the right spot. Yeah, that's right. So my value, int. Please type an integer. You entered. Okay, my value equals int input. I typed that correct. Okay, so invalid literal with a base 10, 5.5. I'm pretty sure that's a valid valid number. Let's hit run again. 5. Okay, it prints out 5. Okay, run again. 5.4. Why is it giving me an error? That really should. Well, what I can do here is I can actually take this value error and I can throw it in Google and see what's going on. I might be missing the math library, but let's see what it says. Okay, so what it doesn't, it's what it's trying to do is it's trying to say you must enter an integer here and store it in my value. If it's not an integer, it's going to be upset. So what I can do is I can take the value in, and I can, after it's been inputted, I can go my, see, that should have worked though. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on why that didn't work. I can go int my value, and what's going to do, it's going to then force it, after it's been inputted, it should force it to become an integer. So type an integer, 5.5. Yeah, well, this should also work. All right, something's going on here. Okay, what we could do is I also have Google Colab. So I mentioned before you can also use Google Colab. Let me close PyCharm for some reason. It's giving me some issues. Let me look at Google Colab real quick. All right. Okay, you guys should be able to see that on the screen. Okay, let's try this again. So Google Colab lets you take things line by line. And this is free to use. All you just do is go to Google, type in Google Colab, and it's a online version of a Python editor, basically. So you don't have to install any software. You can use it at work. You can use it at home. You can use it at school. It's an online version of a Python editor. So in this case, we'll say input equals, or no, my value equals input, type a and integer, colon, space. All right. We'll go that, and then we'll print my value. And one of the interesting about Google Colab is it actually uses AI. It'll actually auto-complete some of the sentences for you. Okay, so if we type that, it is going to want an input. It's probably waiting for an input. Where's the input section? There's an input. That's right. So usually I use this one for my AI machine learning stuff where you import files and stuff. So actually I don't know if we're going to be able to use this one. What is going on with PyCharm? I might have to save this one for next time. We can go back with the other basic stuff instead of trying to force cast. But yeah, this really should have worked. I'm not sure why it's not working. So I'm going to have to look. Maybe I have something misconfigured in my PyCharm. So we'll come back to this one maybe next week if anybody wants to join on that one. Let me pull back up PyCharm. That way we're not looking at a blank black screen. All right. I wonder if it'll let me force into a float. We'll try force float. Okay. So if I type in integer, let's type in a 5. It forces it into a float, but it's not forcing it into an int. We'll try that again. So change it back to int. We'll try 5.5. It's giving an error, but it'll go to a float. So back to float. If I type, so let's say I type just an integer. Let's say I do 10. It'll change it to 10.0. Changes the float. So I'm going to have to find out what's going on because really the int should be working. And yeah, I can even do the float up here. Float. Float. And I don't even need to change it right here. It'll just take it straight as is. Play. Let's say 4. It's automatically going to do a 4.0. So yeah, I'm not sure why the int's not working. But here's another thing. I can actually force it to be a string. So to be a string, you just type string, str. Sometimes I get confused with C++. Let's try string. Okay, and we'll type a 1, and what we should get some quotes around it. So we'll do a 5 and enter. And what we can do is actually we can do the type of. Let's see. Let me check the format for that. Let's see. Look at my notes here. Check the type of variable. Let me find that section. Okay, so what you do is you do here, and then what we can do is we do a type, and we'll just throw this around some parentheses, and it actually tell us what type of value that is. So in this case, let's type a 5. We're trying to force it to be a string, so I press enter, and then there we go. It's a class of a string. If I try and force it to be a float, go, and I press, let's say 6, it should become 6.0, which should be a float, and it is of the class type float. So the only one that's not working is the integer, which is really weird. So, but yeah, you can force cast when you do it here. I'm going to find out why the int's not working. It is probably just my compiler for some reason. But yeah, there we go for force casting. So the float and the string one worked. Another value that we have is Boolean. So let's see, how can we force it to be Boolean? So with Boolean, if it's not false, everything else is true. So let's test that. So we'll go bool. Let's do type of my value, and let's also do print my value and see what it shows for us. So type in integer. Well, let's type in a 5. It says it's a bool, and that's true. Anything that's not false is automatically true when you're talking booleans. So if I were to come up here and I were to give it a 1 is also true. So it's going to say Boolean type, and it's true. Now let's try 0. 0 is typically false in Boolean. So if I put a 0, it's going to force it to be a Boolean, so a true false or a 0 and a 1, and it says true. Let's try a -1. Usually that should have gone false. Let's see, let's try a -1. True. Why is everything true? Python cast to Boolean. I haven't done these kinds of operations in a long time, so I'm a little rusty. Apologize for that. Like I said, usually I'm doing AI, machine learning type stuff, bringing in files and cleaning data and stuff like that. Okay, let's see if I got it somewhere in my notes here. A 0 should have turned up false, according to my notes. But we could check that. Okay. My value, we can say my value equals, let's say it's a bool, it's a 0. That should be a false right there because it's a boolean from the start. And that one does show up as false, as boolean. Let's go int, see what it shows. Okay, it shows an int with a 0, and let's recast it. My value equals bool my value. Let's see what it gives us this time. Okay, it gave us a false this time. That's weird that the input give an integer colon space. Need another there, delete that, and see what it gives us again. Let's give it one more try. Let's try 0, because 0 should come out as false. It's coming out as true. So that's weird that when you're typing it in as a string, a 0 should return as false. Can also try as none. Let's try none. That came out as true. Everything's coming out as true, and that's really weird. So I haven't seen that before, and I'm not sure what's going on with the int value as well. So, but I think that's enough for today. My family's popping up behind me here. I'll look at what the next week assignment is. I think that's module 2, so we'll come back and we'll do some more work on arithmetic. We'll start looking at the modulus, or the modulo, which is the percent. So if I guess we look real quick here, print 4 modulo 2, and then what this is, it's going to say what is the remainder of 4 divided by 2, what is the remainder? And in this case, it should be a 0. Oh, no. Let's delete this stuff. We don't need that anymore. There we go. We should just get a 0. Yep, and we do right here, a 0. Clean it up even more. Or if we were divided by a 3, 3 goes into 4 once, and we should have 1 remainder. So the 4 modulo 3 should have a remainder of 1. And what you can do is you can actually use this for like getting random type values and things. Or let's say you want to break down dollars into quarters, into dimes, nickels. What you can do is you can take whatever's remaining and then take that down and divide it by 5 to get nickels. Do the modulo to get whatever's remaining from that. Find out how many pennies there are, things like that, using the modulo value. Okay, yeah, but we'll go more into arithmetic next time. Thank you for those who were able to dial in, and I will put this recording online, even with the int not working and that boolean acting kind of weird. And I'll look into more of that and see what was going on, because that really should have worked. All right. If anybody else has any questions, yeah, feel free to email me. I'm always on the Discord, so just leave a message there, and usually I'll respond back relatively quick. All right. As we get into more advanced stuff, I'll try and make it more game-oriented too. So I actually want to make a Python-based RPG together with you guys, which will take doing a little bit more than arithmetic. It'll take some functions. So once we get into the functions, I believe that's week 4 and 5 module 3 or 4 starts going to functions. We'll be able to start making that PyRPG for the rest of the semester. All right. Thanks, everybody. Oh, if anybody else has any questions, I'll stay online for just a little bit. I'm just going to the change my splash screen here, but I'll stay on the chat for a little bit if anybody wants to chat. The chat's relatively quick, so yeah, if anybody wants to chat, go ahead and chat, and I'll respond back in chat. There we go, fix that.